will take approximately 45 minutes, and then we will open it up for Q&A. It's going to be linked in live. So if you have anybody who wants to join, you can text your friends. The gaming industry has become larger than music and film combined, expected to generate over $300 billion in 2026. This dynamic industry is growing very rapidly, forming partnership with educational institutions, governments, corporations, and truly positioned to make profound positive impact. In the MENA region, especially the big MENA 3, UAE, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt, gaming is a key driver of economy now. It's expected to generate over 17 billion this year. There are 70 million gamers in the MENA region, expected to grow to 86 million in next year. This growth is fueled by numerous government initiatives, such as Dubai Gaming 2033, Saudi Vision, who are making substantial investments in gaming, esport infrastructure, and talent development. With this growth, the region is positioned to be a global hub for gaming, investment, education, and innovation. We have a very broad panel here today, 5 incredible panelists representing a big part of the ecosystem. Before we dive in, I would like them to do a brief introduction. If I start with you, Dr. Adel, please.
Hi, my name is Adel. I run a number of groups, predominantly focused on healthcare, education, financial services, real estate, food and beverage. And one of the groups is a venture studio, which focuses on companies that provide products and services to enhance quality of life, one's quality.
So my name is Javier. I'm the founder and CEO of Gosu Academy. We are global leaders in esports and gaming education. We've taught more than 20,000 students across the globe. We have operations in the GCC, in America, and in Europe. Basically, we have a platform where we coach esports players, but also we support governments with their education initiatives, as well as universities and schools to integrate gaming and esports curriculum into their academic offerings.
Thank you.
Thanks. My name is Bassem Muftah. I'm the founder of Key Capital. I started my career in venture in '97 in California. The first check I wrote out was to Yahoo. So pretty interesting ride since then. Exited the business that I was running for the Thompson family in 2016, and then decided to come back to the region and focus on venture capital. So I've been doing venture capital here in the region for the last 10 years or so. Up until a year ago, it was all primary investments, early stage, lots of sectors, education, health, gaming, a lot of fintech, of course, e-commerce. And as of last year, have changed strategies to doing secondaries. So we now focus on buying shares from angel investors and from VCs and from employees who have all put a lot of effort, time, and soul to create value, but haven't yet gotten liquidity on their shares. So that's what I do at Key Capital.
You, Mokris. I'm esports founder, esports team in Europe. I'm a tech entrepreneur. I run a coffee business in robotic, mainly in the region. And I collaborate as well with Dr. Adel, education sectors, gaming skills. I participate as well. I'm owner of a startup company at EPFL, incubator in Lausanne, Switzerland, where I'm based. And yeah, so far, this is two.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Lucy Chow, and I am the author of Changing the Game. There's copies of the book outside, and I encourage you each to take a copy after the session. I am an ambassador of Women in Games based out of the UK. And so that's with my gaming hat. And then I do a lot of other things. One is that I'm an investor. I also sit on the board of the American School of Dubai. And with all these different hats, we'll be able to sort of give you an idea of, as to why this sector is important for everyone. It doesn't matter what hat you wear.
Thank you, Lucy. And I'm Lara Sif-Rathkelsdottir, founder of Vikingur Management advisory firm, focuses on private investment, SMEs, family offices. So I'm going to start with you, Lucy. You're an author of the book Changing the Game. Discover how esport and gaming are redefining business, careers, education, and future. Your book explores the transformative power of gaming. Can you give a brief insight into how it's reshaping industries and society as a whole? And additionally, you have a strong theme on education and collaboration and how that's driving meaningful impact.
Sure. I mean, as you know, in this region, we're putting a lot of money into the gaming and esports sector, whether it's ourselves in the UAE or Savvy Games, for instance, in Saudi. There's a reason why this sector is growing so rapidly. And ultimately, I guess I want you, with your business hats, to look at the positive outcomes and what are the main drivers. The drivers is innovation in the types of careers, and also like being a force for our economies, okay? And then in terms of sectors, I think I'll just touch on maybe a few. For instance, healthcare. The games in healthcare are phenomenal, life-changing. There's everything from Pulse, which is a simulation game for medical doctors. So they simulate emergencies, right? And in a safe environment. So what does that do? It levels up their competence, and it gives them confidence to be able to handle crises. In June of 2020, the game Endeavor RX is a game that was FDA approved to treat ADHD. So think of how phenomenal that is. Rather than giving pills, right, to a child to control their ADHD, they can play a game to do that. And there's games all to do with the difficulties of managing cancer. So there's one where you go on a journey with a family, and it's to help you manage childhood cancer. So these are life-changing mental health aspects of gaming and how impactful they are. Education, I think that Javier will be able to talk a lot more about it, but I'll talk about Minecraft education, right? That's used in schools all over now. And I remember 7 years ago when one of our science teachers used it at our school, and he was fed it. At that time, it was rare for teachers to use gaming, but every child wanted to be in his class. And so the point about gamification in education is that we have to move away from the sage on the stage model. That doesn't work anymore, right? Games they're fun, and why wouldn't we want to make education fun and learning fun? And if we already know that games actually improve the learning outcomes, that's one reason why every educational institution should be incorporating more of this into their curriculum. And then very, very lastly, I really want to talk about a category that I call games for good. And people know about first-person shooter games. They know about a lot of different games. Games for good is a whole amazing category where you're learning about perhaps the indigenous life of someone in Alaska. There are games where you can learn about philanthropy and how to give back. And then there's a chapter in the book where this fabulous woman, she was a movie director. She worked for NGO, born and raised in Canada. And when she was a little girl, she would go out and pick up acorns with her father. And so unfortunately now we have something called nature deficit, especially in a country like here where our kids aren't getting out. So her game levels you up. And when you get to the very top level, a real tree is planted in real life, right? So there's so many amazing examples like that. And I'll just leave it there for now. Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Adil, do you believe EdTech innovations can transfer education? And if so, what are you most excited about? And which EdTech tool do you think can transform traditional classroom?
Do I have 3 hours? Could allow me just to preempt the answer.
Sure.
Once I went into developing a school as citizen, I got hit by some sad reality. Yeah. And that the reason behind a lot of the stress we went through our lives, especially if you are an entrepreneur, is due to what schools have trained us, as well as society. We as humans, as a species, we somehow designed the world and certain concepts in life to do with success and happiness and a lot of these concepts, so much so that we cause stress to ourselves. This is why stress is the disease of the century. Huh? Everybody is stressed for something. A lot of that has to do with education. Now, what consumes me today, what interests me in trying to do, are really boils down to 2 points. One is preparedness or readiness for the future, for different possibilities, whatever possibilities are. Most of us don't know what will pan out in the future. So to truly ready generations for a future is a big task on us. An example, 40% of nursery-age kids today will have to self-feed by the time they graduate. Is the current education offering designed for self-feeding? I beg to ask that question. The other element, the second element, is an element to do with quality of. Are we helping the future generation understand what quality of life means, how to measure it? It is that we go through an educational journey for 18 years or so and not know how to manage our quality of it. What have then the education system given us? If I ask you a question today, how do you measure the quality of life? What is quality of life? I will assure you that 9 out of 10 will not have it. They've never asked themselves the question. This is where many concepts, including gaming, becomes really interesting. If they are designed in a way to help readiness of the future generation for different options and help them understand how to gauge their quality of life and enhance it for themselves. We are creatures of addiction. This is why they call it gaming addiction. Why is it an addiction? How different it is from drugs addiction? There's not much of a difference actually, because we as creatures, as a species, are addicted to the different enzymes and hormones that gets triggered by different things our day. Caffeine is a trigger, is an addiction. Nicotine is an addiction, cocaine is an addiction, gaming is an addiction, because it's adrenaline at the end of the day. We are able to use gaming, we are able to use different tools to manage the triggers we go through within our day, and have the right triggers at the right levels with the right interval, so that it is considered as a healthy set of triggers within the day. Then ideally we would have what I call good days. And any day that is not bad is good. And the more good days you have in a week, the better your quality of life hopefully would be. Gaming, as you rightly stated, is bigger than movies and music. Today we speak about gaming in education as can we use it as a tool to deliver information? My interest is not only in that. That is great to have. But it's not new also. I mean, since computers got popular, there were always games that will help you learn something. I am interested in the gaming industry itself, where that world is where all the gamers sit in. It's a foreign world to the education system. Can't we get that world to have a purpose beyond entertainment and beyond addiction to adrenaline? So why do our kids go and play all day long? It's because it triggers all kind of different hormones in our brain, on their brains, and they get addicted to it. And this is what's called addiction, gaming addiction. But if we give that world a purpose, and I don't think it's a hard thing to do. If we say to that world, look, guys, how about you also work on skilling them? Games are, I believe those companies know of us individually more than we know ourselves. You are in a game, your true character comes out. You understand me? You can act whatsoever, however you would like to act in front of people. You could look like a gentleman, but you don't know me in the game. In the game, I could be the most vicious guy and the craziest there is. Because the game knows me better than probably I know myself. Okay? How can we use that? How can we take that to the jobs market? Can I go to Fortnite and say, give me the profiles of your gamers? Can we take those profiles to the job providers and say, do you like any of these profiles? Because this guy is great in communication, team management, leadership, strategy, whatever. Can we do that? Can we give those gaming companies a purpose in readiness, future readiness, which is my interest number one? Can I also ask them to diversify their triggers? So it's not always adrenaline. It's all peripheral mixes of different hormones that our brains function under. You have serotonin, you have melatonin, you have oxytocin, you have adrenaline, you have all kind of different enzymes and hormones that decide what mental status you are in. How does your day look like? Is it a good day or is it not a good day? Those gaming companies are the masters of triggering hormones in your brain. Can we ask them to have that mix and help spread it in a way whereby it stays in a healthy level and it is not considered a disaster addiction? Can we do that? And then can we then link that with education?
Yeah.
A long answer, but I want to.
Amazing.
Did I do 3 hours yet?
No, this is great. Thank you. And it's a perfect to go next to Javier,
You got rid
who
of me.
has. Then I'll be back to you.
No. I think I didn't.
Javier, you have a corporation that educational corporation for gaming and esport, and given the industry is growing that fast, how is the talent? Is it aligned with the growth or is it underdeveloped? And if you can align this a bit with gamification as well as how it can help there. And then secondly, it's becoming a career as well. You can touch on that afterwards as well.
Yes, of course. First of all, I mean, amazing thoughts, Dr. Adil. So, I mean, it was long, but spot on. And well, Lara, absolutely. So the esports and gaming industry in the region is growing very, very fast. But the short answer to that is that yes, there's a clear talent gap, right? And I want to put two examples here, real examples. So one is the Esports World Cup in Saudi Arabia, probably the largest esports event in the world. Just to give you some figures, the competition, the price of the competition this year, it's $70 million. It's massive, right? So we do collaborate with EWC. And last year I was in Riyadh, and I couldn't stop seeing one thing, that all the talent from referees to admins to stage managers, most of them were foreigners. So this is actually not sustainable if this region wants to lead in this space in the longer term, right? Then the second example is with game development. So I was in Dubai Game Expo two weeks ago, and I was speaking with several studios. A lot of them trying to relocate or having their regional offices in either Dubai, Riyadh, or Abu Dhabi, and they are really ready and willing to hire local talent. The thing is that the pipeline is not there yet. In the region, there's not enough trained these game designers or developers to coming out of the education system to actually meet that demand. That said, I mean, the good news is that in the region we have, this has massive potential, right? Especially with all the initiatives of nationalization of the workforce, right? You know, certification and emitization, and every single country has their own. And I like to analyze this based on 3 key levers, right? The first thing is what Lara was saying before, which is that the industry is growing very fast. 100 billion growth in the next 3 to 4 years. It's assumable that part of that pie is going to fall into the GCC. The second thing is the demographics, right? We haven't talked about the demographics yet, but you guys know that 70%, more than 70% of the population in the GCC recognize themselves as gamers. If you go to the population under 30, that's 90%. So there's an interest for sure. And then the last thing is the governments, and Lara, you explained it well at the beginning. I mean, most of the governments in the region are putting in place both efforts and resources to boost this industry. So, we have the Dubai Gaming Program for 2033, with the objective of creating 33,000 new jobs in Dubai, right? Only in Dubai, not in the rest of the Emirates. Saudi Arabia, with a national strategy for gaming and esports, wanted to create 39,000 jobs by the end of 2030, and they want 1% of their GDP comes from esports and gaming. Very aggressive, but if they meet in the middle, it's still an amazing result. So we can see where the industry is heading in the region. However, what's missing here? Well, what it's missing it's the education layer. So we've seen some good steps in the region, like for instance the Saudi Sports Academy, part of the Saudi Sports Federation. We've been working with them for the last 2 years, and basically their vision is to train the best players in Saudi Arabia so they can become pro players and win tournaments or medals in the Olympics happening. Which, by the way, I mean the esports Olympics are happening in Saudi Arabia in 2 years. So imagine how big this is, right? I mean, how they can bring medals to Saudi Arabia, or supporting them in esports careers, right? And we've seen very good success stories of our students. We see them in the EWC or in the Saudi leagues being casters or being referees. Others that we've seen more in here in the Emirates, for instance, the Al Ghurair Foundation recently launched a program together with UNDP and HP to actually develop 500 junior developers in the next 2 years, which is a fantastic initiative. However, where's the gap there? The gap there, it's still in the traditional education system, right? So schools, but especially universities, that they're still trying to catch up. But in any ways, I mean, that's one part of the gaps that we at Goswam Academy we're trying to solve, right? We act as an agile partner for these institutions to quickly add gaming curriculum and esports curriculum into their academic offerings. And there's a lot that universities and schools can win over this. And it's clear that, because I was having this conversation with somebody in UNDP a couple of weeks ago, and she was saying that most of the gaming education has been launched by alternative education, like these boot camps or these other initiatives. And I kind of disagree with her. I think that actually we need to have the traditional education system integrating these both gaming and esports. And we actually did a global study at Goswam Academy very recently, where we basically so that there's a direct correlation between the market share that you actually have in the gaming industry towards how advanced higher education is in that country. And to put examples, the three biggest countries in the world are, the US has 25% of the market share, China has 24%, Japan has 10%. If you look at the education system, there's almost 200 universities in the US having these kind of gaming programs, almost 100 in China, almost 40 in Japan, and you can see a similar correlation in the next countries, which are basically South Korea and other European countries. So basically, we need the traditional education system to add gaming and esports, and there's a lot that they can win, right? I mean, there's of course a direct impact on the P&L of the institution, but then also support the country as an overall with their objectives, and then also support the image of the institution as an innovator and future.
Thank you. Very insightful. Now, Moklis, you come from the techpreneur, gamers perspective. The gaming industry is constantly evolving and emerging technologies are transforming. So how do you see it's shaping now? Is gaming for good being considered? And how do you see also, if you can address it, the virtual reality and augmented reality? I mean, what is happening and how do you see this could be put together to drive education, innovation, and positive impact?
Yeah. Let me say first, the gaming industry in the early 2010 has actually initiated two really rapid growth industry, tech industry. Remember, in the 2010 and the early time, gamers were in need to develop games at the same time to play in a very reliable infrastructures. And at that time, gamers initiate graphic cards, which gives to NVIDIA active space to develop, which today create push TSMC to create 3 nanometers chips devices, which allows the AI industry today to take place too. The other way where gaming we're rapidly evolving, it's VR and AR, augmented reality. And I just want to say, like, gaming in the past initiate a big highway of technology. And today, gaming industry is still pushing small companies, startup company we work with, TFL in Switzerland, to initiate tremendous and unexpected ways where gaming industry is pushing other industry. We think twice, think out of the box, such healthcare, military field, and so on. So the trend, as far as I'm concerned, I believe today, 2025, the major trend where gaming is pushing the industry today is augmented reality. There's no doubt about it. I don't believe in VR anymore. I truly believe in a new way to interact with our environment. And we believe that augmented reality is the new way where humankind has the liberty to create today. Taking in account that really AI is revolutionizing today what we're doing. I truly believe in this class, in this space, we are probably the last generation was born without internet. And today we have to deal with internet. And I think we live in a transition human fantastic period where we are completely visualizing the words in a different way with the coming up of the. I'm sorry, I just turned it on about AI, but gaming and AI today are tremendously connected today. 90% of game developer use AI tools and helps small startup company to initiate this.
Did you just call us old, by the way?
No.
I'm just curious, but okay.
I'm 48 years old. Yeah, 48 years old.
No, I get it.
Yeah. Yeah, so those the trend. Yeah, I think those the trend. I think gaming will definitely keep going, keep pushing other industries to
Great, thank
to
you.
growth.
Very insightful. Now, Basil, from investment perspective, now you're a founder of a venture capital fund, and this it's a hot topic today, gaming, and the governments are investing substantially.
Yeah.
Can you provide some insight into the investment landscape in the gaming industry?
Yeah, yes, I can, and I'll start off by saying I think there's the collision of so many different sectors coming together at this point that it raises a lot of questions about how to invest. From a private sector investor point of view, it's tricky. It's not simple. There's reasons for government to invest. UAE is a very unique situation where pretty big part of the educational system is private, right? If not all of it, frankly. Everywhere else in the world, that's not the case. Government is involved in education. They have different incentives, and they create, different realities. So, in fact, investing in education and Edtech in particular has been one of the least successful sectors for people to invest in over time, not because there isn't value to be created, but because the incentive systems of who pays what and how much they pay are sometimes a little bit misaligned. Gaming, on the other hand, has erupted over the last decade or so as one of the more successful areas of investing because of the realities of monetization, the adrenaline rush that comes with it. Whatever your reason for gaming, there's a lot of value to be extracted. And I think the innovative take in this region around how do we bring gaming education together is actually very exciting, right? And in some ways where you can probably get the maximum effect from an investor, where you can monetize because people are either paying for augmented reality or the latest game, but it can be educational and still drive the same behaviors where people want to use this on end. But here's what it is. We're still stuck in the region, and I'm talking about regional for now, and I'm happy to talk about global, where the localization part hasn't yet fully occurred, right? So there's a lot of imported technologies, a lot of imported content, some of it Arabized, some of it created, for local, but that's really the last mile, I call it, right, of the industry. Delivery of a gaming event like the one in Saudi is fantastic, love it, but not sure the value proposition as it relates to an industry or as an investor, how you would participate in that. And so what needs to happen now on the value chain, if you want to play it out, is we need to sort of work backwards, right? You're talking about teaching the teacher or teaching the referees, and then you're talking about building your own gaming content and then localizing it, and et cetera, all the way to the actual programmers, right? And the actual physical, the physical, energy required to create this. And I think that's an investment opportunity for sure. I think there are many people involved, whether government, private sector, and others, if you like, international, local, everything you want, in helping make that a reality. How you would pick your bets, I think, is a different discussion, and which markets and which areas, that's a different discussion. But as an industry, the potential is huge. The problem I have generally, and I'll just speak more generally about tech investing for a second, is we are very nascent in the tech investing industry, right, as a whole. So whether that is in fintech or health tech or other sectors, we still haven't completed the full cycle of investing. We've had a few IPOs. I think we're proud of them, but you can literally count them on one hand. And even then, each one of them has some unique circumstances on them. We have a few growth investors, late stage investors, but still not enough. And so for early stage investing, the reliance that there will be like this supply chain of capital and all the way to a public company is still forming. And in some ways, that's the underlying impeding issue for startups and entrepreneurs to come into the region, and for them to emerge within the region. And so there's a push and a pull. It's always good to have that tension. People will find ways to, that those create opportunities to make money. Key Capital is kind of solving one piece of that. Others are solving other pieces of that. It doesn't matter, but we're still in tech investing, just still getting our grounding, to develop. And so I would personally want to see an acceleration just in tech investing in general, right, as a whole. I mean, that's the push. Whether gaming is really the next AI or like AI is that mega of a force, or is, let's say, sitting on top of the AI force. I mean, it depends on how you think about it. We'll wait and see. With the way my kid uses my credit card, I'm pretty sure it's a lucrative industry. So I know somebody's making a lot of money, definitely not me, out of it. And he's 14 years old, and he's at ASD. And if he tells, and if he's using Minecraft for school, I generally would tell him you're lying. So good to know that that's a board-approved thing. You see, I'll go back and maybe change my views on how I let him spend his time in front of the people. But exciting times, a lot of opportunity. Regionally still hindered or slow. For private investors, tricky. But the potential undoubtedly is fantastic.
Yeah. Thank you, thank you. I know it's a mature industry, but it's fast growing, and I think with all the environment that's being created here, the government initiatives, you know, they have gaming hubs now, and they have the DMCC and DFC. So they are creating a very attractive environment. So I think with that, the investment is going to de-risk. And
yeah, but part of it, and I'd love to hear the others' thought. Part of it is kind of which regulator does this really sit under, right? And where does this get, developed and enhanced? In fintech, it's very well, sometimes not very clear, but clearer, right? Of which regulators are involved. If you look at health tech, again, generally you understand which regulator gets involved. When you get to gaming, it's kind of like, hold on a minute, who should be involved on this, right? Obviously, there's an element of content that's inappropriate, all of that, that's fine. That's easy to deal with. But the sense of who's advocating, how do you protect against international, sorry to put it this way, Chinese or Indian or American, gaming company just coming in, flooding the market, capturing the most value, and then, but yet not developing the local, right? And I'm not a protectionist by any means, but sometimes you kind of think, how does an Arab, developer coder from Jordan, like Tomatem, I think it was, or someone like that, or others, build up? And there's a case study in Turkey, by the way, which we can talk about, which is very interesting, but it has to do with language barrier that really gave them their acceleration. But what I'm trying to say is there's something around regulation, something about investment, something about incentive. There's a number of things we still need to move the dials on and adjust.
It's evolving. Thank you. Lucy, back to you. Sorry, Lucy, I was gonna ask you about the diversity and inclusion, which are crucial for industry growth. How can the gaming industry better support and promote diversity and inclusion, particularly for women and underrepresented groups? And you did touch on this on your book, if you could give some time.
Yeah, there are initiatives in the region that are moving ahead this lever for girls in games. There's a fabulous organization in Saudi called GCon. They've been around since 2012, and it's really trying to introduce girls at a young age to coding, all the different careers that are available if you got into gaming and esports. But we still have a long ways to go, and it's the same problem we have for every industry. We need more women at the top. So whether it's a gaming studio, a creative studio, whether it's casters or producers, we need more women in the decision-making roles. So this sector is not different from every other sector that we talk about. And there is organizations like Women in Games in the UK. That's an advocacy group, and they actively put together career fairs. They have a database where there's matching. But we need like 100-fold of those sort of initiatives.
Thank you. I believe in the MENA region, 35% of the gamers are females, right?
And globally it's 48%. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
And I would like to add on that as well. So we had the importance of success stories and role models. So in Saudi Arabia, one of our programs was on how to become a Tekken professional player. And the only female in the program, I mean, this was with the Saudi Sports Academy, she, at the beginning, very shy, but then after the program, she was scouted to the Arab leagues to represent Saudi Arabia and got second place. She's now a legend.
Yeah.
She's now a role model for all the female players in Saudi Arabia. So we need, we need more females in the top and more success stories, more role models.
That's right. That's right. I love that story. I'm just going to tell a very quick story, and her story's in the book. But Maddie will tell you she's super proud to have been the first woman to lead an esports team in the Middle East. Her gaming name is Madi. Her full name is Madiha Nas. She was born and raised here, Pakistani background. And because of that, she's a under 30 in Forbes, but the government of this fabulous government gave her a golden visa, and then she was able to bring her family here. So she tells that story all the time.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Adel, AI has been recently agreed that it should be as part of the curriculum for schools K to 12. This is clearly a commitment from the UAE government driving innovation. What's your thoughts on this, and how do you envision the future of education as part of this change? This could be an opening to something more to come.
Yes, so my view of AI, we are a generation that lived before GSM, internet, satellite. We are old.
Damn.
But the fact is, GSM enhanced our individual productivity tens of times. The internet, again, tens of times. But it used to take my father sending a fax or a telex somewhere, getting a response, but it used to take a week. Now, if you don't respond, you get a call. I sent you a WhatsApp 5 minutes ago, you haven't responded. It used to take a week to get something like this done in my father. Then you had also satellite. So our productivity is probably hundreds of times more than our ancestors. Our fathers, just one generation. What AI will do is thousands. Very, very simple example. I used to develop economic zones, many parts of it. I used to rely a lot on consultants. And the average cost for a consultant to come and do me a research would be, say, $500,000. I get that less than a minute for free. Thanks to $500,000, 6 months or whatever, 4 months, 10 people. Now, 1 minute. I get, and the report is ready. I can just print it out. So my productivity, thousands. What does that mean? That has 2-3 implications. Key implications. AI will amplify whatever comes. Is good, amplified. It's bad. What is very important for us to, as society, individuals, families, schools, to make sure we build the person. Example of me, and maybe I'll be a bit shy. Because of the internet was very new at the days, hacking was very easy. So I grew a reputation as a hacker. And I was really good at it. In fact, I got my career, my first job as a security engineer, information security engineer. And I was probably one of the highest paid at the time because of my hacking. And I could have been very, very rich if it wasn't with the raising of my parents. So we have this concept in Islam, halal and haram, and many other religions and societies, wrong and, bad and good and all. If I didn't have the bad and good concept in me as individuals, I would have stolen a lot of money and became very rich much younger. The same goes with AI. whatever what goes in, if it's good, 1,000 times. It's bad. So building the person. AI as a school, my school is City School, just across the road, is an entrepreneur's. It has a curriculum starting from H3, FS1. And my objective is that I get as many students as possible owning shares in companies by the time they graduate from it, just to put their mind into the possibility and be ready for whatever option they go. Now, which means these teams, entrepreneurial teams as kids, need to have the necessary tools for them to be able to build, to inquire, to build business plans, to have skills that they wouldn't usually have at a school level. For example, do the necessary research, market research on a certain idea, business proposition, product. Take that product, be able to design it, be able to produce it, or maybe that website, build it, maybe that financial model, maybe that marketing strategy, maybe that. AI will give me the ability to let them do the job of what usually would take somebody that has 20 years of experience, but at the school level. Now, many a times, I will need them to learn the basics. So I cannot get them to totally rely on the fact that AI can do things for them. They need to understand the basics. But I can propagate and make it faster that they are able to do things really early on. Because I sit on the board of many universities. And I'm telling you, by the time students get to those universities, they are now 18 or whatever, 17 years old. Now I have to rebuild the person all over again so that they now can comprehend what entrepreneurship is and being responsible for things. It's just too late. We need to start way earlier at the school. So number two, would it enable students, I call them learners, to be able to do real things earlier on at school and be able to control, have a better chance on their future? Yes, AI will do that. The third point, as I've highlighted, we need to be careful in that yes, it is an inquiry-based knowledge. We are not pushing that knowledge onto them. They are actually going to AI and pulling knowledge, which is amazing. Yeah. But at the same time, we need to make sure that they understand the basics of what is a business plan, what a business plan should look like, why does it need to look like that, what is the financial model, why a financial model looks like that, what's really at the root of that, what is it meant to achieve. So those three things that I would... Did I do 3 hours here?
No,
So
thank
you
you.
have the next 2 hours.
This is very insightful, and I think gaming is here to stay, whether we like it or not, and with AI as well. And I think this is one of the reasons why I've set up this panel, because we can shape it and have positive impact on how it evolves or not.
I'm telling you, since the internet, I've seen all different kind of technologies, which, do you remember what were the tokens? The artwork? NFT, do you remember?
NFTs.
Yes, you remember these?
Yes.
What kind of crazy stuff that went out? Okay? And I'm still a doubter, by the way, on a lot of cryptocurrency. I'm a big doubter still. I have no doubt what AI. AI will make the internet negligible. Okay, the effect of the AI relevant to the internet. Look what the internet did to us. It will be way, way more than.
Thank you, Javier. Now we've talked about your company. You have both gamification to help education, but then there's also a new career opening up, career in esport and gaming.
Yes.
And can you give a brief highlight on that? And also, are there any evidence supporting the effectiveness of using gaming in education?
Yes, of course, and I think that gaming is has a massive potential, as we've been speaking here, to really disrupt, transform education per se. And there's gaming for me, that there's two ways of looking at it, right? I mean, one thing it's the hard skills, those ones that teach you how to become a game developer, a game designer, or career in esports, like being a referee, a caster, a video producer. But then the other things we were speaking before about gamification, Minecraft, right? I mean, using games as an enabler, right? It can be enabler to learn any other subjects, like you can learn through Minecraft, you can learn whatever you want actually, but maths, physics, history, you can create your own worlds about ancient history in Minecraft. But also soft skills. I mean, esports, that's something that does, right? I mean, you can teach kids about collaboration, teamwork, and leadership. In GOSO, basically, we focus on 3+1 areas, let's say fields. One is game development and game design. The best thing about game development and game design is that it actually teaches both technical and creative skills. At the very end, the kids, the learners, need to learn how to code their own games, right? Which basically develops the technical fluency coding, but then also problem solving, visual, storytelling, logic, creativity. And the best thing about it, it's from one side, you learn how to use certain tools that are very useful, like Unity or Unreal, not only for gaming, but also for other users. But then also you end up having your own portfolio of real projects, something you can show directly to the future employer, or to a university, or even you can make money out of it. I mean, in entrepreneurship, you can create your own game. If it's successful, then you have your own company there, right? And the impact on that, I think I think Lucy touched on it before. That, I mean, there's evidence. I mean, there's two programs. One was Girls Who Code, and another one it's a Minecraft Code Arcade. That basically you could see the improvement, motivation, retention, but also interest of those students into STEM. I mean, there's it's 7 times higher possibilities than somebody that has gone through these programs will end up choosing, let's say, computer science. So definitely an impact, right? Esports per se, I like to, you guys to think about esports not as just playing games. It's about the full ecosystem, as we've been speaking. What we do is, we coach the kids and to become better in certain games, and then, compete professionally and bring those medals, but also all the careers in esports. Again, esports is still a very it's been already a few years there that have been going, but it's still very immature. And every day there's more positions. As I was saying, referees, stage managers. I mean, there's even more than that, right? Journalists. I mean, you become an influencer, you become a peer producer. And the thing with these careers is that there's nobody certifying the kids. There's actually some initiatives from certain governments, like the Esports Canada, the Canadian government is trying to certify some. UK has done some things. Saudi Arabia for sure is trying to do that. But nobody has really certified anybody yet. There's no standardization of these positions, right? So you as an employer don't really know, right? So there's definitely a huge amount of opportunities for the new generation in esports, and the impact. I think that's something that I see from in looking at our own programs, that we see. I mean, our learners, our students in the esports World Cup, even if most of it is still foreigners, but those that are actually Saudis, we see them that come from our programs. And then, gamification as well. I mean, and let me just focus on the impact, because I think I've already spoken quite a bit. I mean, it really increases, especially motivation for the kids to go. I mean, if you would tell me when I was a kid that, you're going to learn maths through Minecraft, maths becomes, becomes different, no? I mean, you're very happy to go to the class.
Yeah.
So, motivation. And then there's also some research on that it really, I mean, as the motivation increases, it then improves also the performance of the kids. So, yeah.
Great, thank you, Javier. Moklis,
Yeah.
so as this industry is evolving rapidly, a lot of collaborations are taking place, and there even Gucci and Prada are collaborating with the gaming companies. I mean, that's just a clear indicator of growth and where capital is going. So can you give some light on this?
Yes, I can talk about my personal experience in the esports industry. In 2018, I acquired esports team. The value of the esports team at the time was 0. Nobody was interested in esports at the time. I mean, in Europe, in France at the time, we decided to compete in a game called League of Legends, which developed massive skills for those who want master playing League of Legends. It took me 6 months just to understand who I am in the games. How can I play with others? So today, the value of the esports team, of my esports team, BK Rogue, 18 NFL, is roughly between $2 million. I asked myself, why? What's going on? And the reason is because big brands were super interested to get involved in sports. Esports is kind of, I like to say, is the F1 of the automotive industry, that way. League of Legends today, Tencent, who is the publisher, and Riot's, it's roughly 350 daily active users. So there's like a big population that play this game. And only 2,000 players reach the level of esports athletes, develop such skills that they were super good, that Tencent decided to create a massive championship worldwide and put in massive money in it, which is basically not so much. They invest roughly $100 million to create the championship. And then what happened, that big brands, non-endemic brands, get interested into it. So how we should get access to these 350 gamers that play between 2 hours, 12 hours a day. Believe me, this is what they spend for those who play a lot. So it pushed an entire industry, sponsor esports team, because they became kind of ambassadors of the games they like to play in. And brands were very, very curious about the insane viewership that games industry generated. I can give you an example. At the final of League of Legends, you have an average every year of 600 million viewer Twitch. Gamers, by the way, developed Twitch as another linear platform rather than TV. And by the way, youngsters not watching TV anymore. So that shows you that now those non-endemic brands such Gucci, Coca-Cola, they're now interested to collaborate with 2 different sectors. One is AAA gamers, like big ones. So, and now going and massively growing is the mobile game publisher. Call it indie game, independent gamers publisher, and they were more interested to how we can sell our product in their world, So this is why we take Minecraft, FIFA. We now, I think we are entering a new way to sell product is through gaming. Yeah. So at the past, my dad, my mom used to buy product in a mall, right? And today, my kids, my daughter today buy stuff, buy skins, Louis Vuitton's bag on Fortnite. So,
right.
yeah, because she play Fortnite, she like Fortnite, And now today brands understand. They understand. Some of the brands now, because now we tend to have big brands that understand this ecosystem. The majority doesn't understand it. And call them non-endemic brands. So most likely what they can do is sponsor you. I sponsor the event you're managing because I don't know how to step in. Others, brands such Red Bull and other big brands know the ecosystem. They even though create their own esports team. For example, I'll give you an example. In my league, I'm the only private private guy who own a team. The 9 other team are brands, VC, or nowadays there's more influencer as well. They acquire esports team and monetize this industry.
It's a monetization model.
Monetize this industry.
I'll give you an example. Me and Makhlis created a company called Mini Sports, and deliberately university and esports. So, but then we are targeting. So we opened a studio, a gaming studio in Dunkin' Donuts here, just across the road there. And the idea is that we wanted to link the offering of Dunkin' Donuts, which I chair for the UAE and Kuwait. You consume products in Dunkin', you get access to games. You play games, you get points, you get products in Dunkin'. We need more of this. And a lot of other brands are like looking at us now, see how are we doing with QSR, quick serve food. Because, for example, Dunkin' is a happy moment business. It's always associated with young, and it's always, our targeted demography are young people, most of which are gamers. So there is this link and there is this monetization. There's also the other thing that we hope to do is to figure out ways for gamers to make income on day-to-day within the economies they serve. So we are all aware they are spending money on Fortnite, but that money goes somewhere else. How can we make that money come here in the economy and vice versa? So the more we link games they play with offerings in the economy we are in, the better it is. So I think there's a lot of effort that goes into that direction. The other thing, me and Khafir are now trying to figure out how can we create curriculums that go from age 3 at a school level to integrate gaming with the education offering. Why am I saying this? It's not only about the students, it's actually about the teachers or the mentors and the parents. I'll tell you an example. We developed an entrepreneurship curriculum which starts at age 3. You know who was the biggest resistant to our offering? Number one was the parents.
Yeah.
Because the parents, in fact, one of my key managers he said, no, I don't want my kid to become an entrepreneur. Why is that? Because they went through a horrible entrepreneurship experience. Yeah. Well, natural, because 9 out of 10 companies fail within the first 3 years. That's 200 years of statistics. So they are scared. And they want their kids to learn the way they learned. And they think what they became is the best version of what a human can. Mm-hmm. Same goes with gaming. If we want this to happen, both the teachers and the parents need to upgrade their knowledge of the gaming industry so that they come closer to the industry, and they will be the ones who will enable all of us to figure out the best way to use gaming for the benefit of the future generation, and to figure out mechanics and ways and tools to monetize, add to economy, contribute, innovate, and so on and so forth. Sorry, man. I just needed, because I didn't speak for an hour.
No.
Yeah, this is a very important.
Yes, it's important.
Thank you for that, Dr. Adel. Thank you. And it's fascinating that you mentioned the gaming studio. I believe there are around 250 gaming studios or gaming companies in UAE, and it really is evolving. And I think it's not also only educating the youth, but the parents and the teachers. But then now come to funding, they're always with gaming like other industries. Basil, what do you think in terms of, we touched on this a little bit earlier, that the ecosystem is evolving. There's a lot of initiatives taking place. There's a lot of positive impact that can be made. Do you think, the optimism in investing is changing? What's your thoughts?
Yeah, there's a couple of funds already dedicated to gaming. There's quite a large one in Saudi Arabia, and then there's a private one here in the UAE, run out of Abu Dhabi. And between the two of them, they represent a substantial amount of capital. That's not to mention, obviously, private investments and and companies or schools and others putting into it. But it is, again, just to be simple about it, very nascent, right? And still lacks that kind of sustainability element around if you develop something, will you find growth capital? Will you find an ability to monetize, etc.? A leap of faith is happening. So undoubtedly, with everybody else on this panel, it's hard to not mention that you're seeing more and more attention being put on it. But I do think parents, are concerned in some ways for right reasons and wrong reasons. The wrong reasons being that they're biased with their past. The right reasons is how big of an industry will this be? And if I, teach my kid to be a referee for esports, what is that? What's the potential for that, and how often and when will they be disrupted and need to learn something else? And maybe ultimately we are moving into this world in which you have to learn multiple skills over multiple time, and the ability to learn is more important than what you learn, right? And so that raises a whole other question on what is education really. Is it the content or is it the skill? And I think we can all agree that the skill becomes more valuable in this ever disruptive world that we live in. For investors, I go back and I say it, it's tricky. It's really, really tricky. If you have a distribution methodology, whether it's a Dunkin' Donuts or other schools and other ways to combine this virtual and physical world together, you have an unfettered advantage, right? But as an outside private investor, all of us, we talk about it quite a bit, right? I mean, this is not an area that goes unnoticed, but everybody would say tough, right? Where do you put money and see the full spectrum of building a brand new startup? It's
too early sometimes.
Yeah, it's tricky and if you wait too late, then the value's already, then it becomes kind of like you can't invest. And if you do too early, then you're taking too big of a leap of faith. Right now, I'll just say it, and rightly or wrongly, we're all very unfortunate in the investment or VC community, a little bit consumed by AI, and making some ridiculous bets, as far as I can tell, on incredibly high valuations and some very ambitious things. But I think I agree with Adil said that there's 100,000% certainty on AI and its impact on society and its potential, and therefore it's seemingly a safer bet, even at these kind of ridiculous valuations that we're hearing about. In gaming, I would say some people have tried their luck and it didn't work out, so they're being a bit more cautious. Others are coming to the table. I do agree, augmented reality, VUS being a good example here in the region. And others are showing that there's really potential on augmented realities and mixed realities, etc. But so you're seeing people come back into the market. So what am I saying? I'm saying AI is seemingly the better bet right now than gaming per se. But I'm willing to bet anything that people who invest in gaming now will make more money than those who do in AI, only because the valuations are just kind of at an insanity level in AI right now.
Thank you. So I want to open it up for questions, I think.
Lara, can I just touch on the future of careers?
Yes, and I wanted one final thought for each of you.
Okay,
yes,
and
please.
just very quickly, gamers are like Olympians, right? Only 1% become top tier gamers. But I guess I want the takeaway for everyone is you can give me any of your backgrounds and I will tell you how you slot into this industry. That's what I want you to walk away with, because everyone wants their kid to just be gainfully employed, right? So you're going to hear stories in the book of a lawyer. She's a lawyer, but she grew up playing games. And you know what she does? Her law firm, all it does, it's based in San Francisco, is that she's an immigration lawyer for gamers. That's all she does. And she does all her contracts on Twitch, and it's phenomenal. So she's gainfully employed. She's a lawyer. She's got her own law firm, but she is in the gaming ecosystem. It's pretty cool.
Amazing. Dr. Atel, you have a final thought?
3 hours? So basically, regardless of what it is, whether it is gaming or AI or any word of the season, really think of how does it add value to one's quality. If it does, it'll be a good bit. If it doesn't, not clear, don't follow the herd. So many of them are.
Thank you. Javier?
Yeah, I would like to put another example after Lucy's example. I think that, I mean, right now we're seeing some of our coaches in our platform, they're being hired as controllers in airports. And that's something because that skills that they have developed being professional players, that's exactly what they need because they're looking, and we know that controllers get paid very, very well. I mean, if you take that, I mean, all the
Traffic controllers?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I love it.
Unfortunately, they cannot reset the game.
Not sure if I want to get on my flight now, but okay. No, but I get it. They've learned some really technical skills that can be applied in the real
But
life.
then you can do it, you can apply this again into defense nowadays. You can, I mean, there's also studies for surgeons. I mean, surgeons that are gamers tend to have like a higher rate on better ratings on their surgeries. So, I mean, it's about looking at all the good things and all the soft skills that you really develop with your gaming.
Thank you. Mukhlis?
I just want to add, just recently, UAE G42 platform.
Yeah.
I was talking about it Javier, earlier. G42 platform in Abu Dhabi released with supports of Microsoft Azure infrastructures, the largest AI infrastructures in the region after this. But that's insane. That's very important moment. That's very important moment. Why? I say that as a gamer's perspective, in a gaming perspective, very important. G42 released last year the first large language model in Arabic called JACE. It feed with 400 million Arabic speakers. It has been feeded with 400 Arabic streamers. Adel is one of them. That's and it feeds this model, and it allows actually what we call the cloud sovereignty here, that created actually that permit to game developer, indie games, small companies here to be more innovative and allow them very expensive hardware devices in the cloud and have like a certain DNA creating games, because the region it doesn't exist. You won't see like unless if you're a small game players, you won't see a major gaming or because the GCC here is so low, but it's definitely going to grow. Right, it's really important moment for investor in the region. So I just want to say this G42 are important for us.
Thank you. Bassel, final thought.
I've spent 28 years of my life, I guess, investing and or operating tech businesses. And yet I can't help but think every day as a father, the question around ethics and morality that's involved in this super acceleration of the world around us. You know, the kind of the proverbial blue collar industry got, disrupted by automation and a certain amount of efficiency gains, etc. And we still live the consequences of that until today. And you see it play out in politics or, Middle America or other countries around the world, the impact it had for people having to shift industries, shift skills, etc. And I think we see that disruption being fundamental on a societal level. And if AI is going to cause that, I do wonder whether gaming and other kind of realities are part of that solution to that problem, right? But what lives within it is ethics and morality and what we teach our kids. And so for all the things we spoke about today, I think I'd love to see Lucy and to anybody in education, frankly, Adel, etc., how you bring that into the curriculum, because if there's one disruption that seems to exist across everything, is the lack of, people being able to understand what values are and ethics are, and being able to stand up to those things in different circumstances.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, the is emerging as a global hub for gaming, innovation, investments, talent. And gaming is no longer only entertainment, it's driving innovation and education. And it's really, this growth is positioned to make profound positive impact. With that said, I'm going to open the floor for questions. Anybody has questions? Mohammed?
Hi. Yeah, thank you first. Thank you very much for these brilliant inputs. I'm just wondering if someone can compile all your insights from virtual augmented reality to AI to ethics triggered by the technological breakthrough. I think you'll find matter of writing a new book. Anyway, I have two questions, if I may. First one, I would like to, while I agree with all your business input, I'm just like to take a new perspective and wonder whether, to which extent, e-gaming, e-education, whatever, can jeopardize the creativity and the fulfillment of the youth. Because basically, they are the main targets. And I would like to take an example that 20 years ago, there were in Finland a new revolution in education. Remember, the government of Finland had decided to remove everything which is related to the documents, the papers. And they brought for the primary to the secondary school iPad, iPhone, and so forth. And 20 years later, they discovered that this generation is almost lost because there were no creativity, nothing, man. So I'm just wondering whether this e-gaming, this education is not going to jeopardize the creativity and the fulfillment of the youth. And my second question, maybe to Mr. Basil, to which extent today there's an appetite, is there any real appetite from investments towards the e-gaming? Because you mentioned that there's a kind of competition between AI. AI is becoming the biggest hype. So is there any appetite, a real appetite towards the e-gaming, or is just e-gaming is becoming just a matter of having this kind of conferences and so forth? Thank you.
If I can just say, Mohammed, I'm not sure if I'm answering this correctly, but creativity is so important to the games, to the world. I mean, a game is not fun if it's not immersive. Yeah. I don't think that's exactly what you're asking. I want to also point out that I would argue it's easier to get discovered as an artist and a musician if you put your art and your music into the video game industry. That's another whole area for creatives to be employed in. So I guess I just feel like it is a creative industry. It is all about creativity. So I'm not sure that this sector takes that away. If anything, it elevates it.
The point is just to take a societal and psychological impact.
Because they're on a device.
The youth from the basic age to the teenager, then maybe the mindset will be shaped through, I would say, algorithms. So maybe it's going to impact the society as a whole.
I guess we can argue it already has.
For instance, are there some academic studies that have addressed this issue?
Are there academic studies that have addressed? Yes, there's 2 articles written by psychologists in my book, actually, that talk about the effects of positive gaming. Yeah, there's a lot of studies on this.
I would argue that it's actually the other way. The reason why me and you don't know what's going on gaming, because society and the education today is very risky. We sit in a box, just don't realize. In their world, games, they are free. They're free to create, be themselves, be very creative. But we are not comfortable with that because we don't know what's going on there. And it's not the way we've been. I would actually argue the opposite.
And also, just to add one more to that, as a mother to a 10 years old boy and a girl, I hear your concern very clearly, my concern as well. But the game, it's here to stay, whether we like it or not. So it's for us to meet them where they are at and make positive impact on it if possible. That's some are looking.
When you say to your kid, don't game, you're just saying to them, don't be in more creative world. That's
And if I had to add there, I think that everything is about balance. I don't think that you should remove pencils and pens. I think you should just add, right? I mean, and I think that actually for somebody like even just as a myself, right? I'm terrible drawing, terrible. So I mean, that hindered basically my possibilities on creativity, right? Because so let's not try, no, let's focus on maths because I'm better at that. Right now with all these tools actually in gaming, I mean, you can create characters, you can create worlds with AI and everything. I mean, your imagination just flies, right? So I mean, I can be as creative as I want. So I think that I mean, it's just a matter of a balance. You cannot remove the pencils and the papers, but you need to also recognize all the amazing things that gaming and all these tools are adding to the education system.
Thank you for the question because it helps clarify a couple of things. But I'll first say we need better words for gaming. It's too broad of a term, and it's going to need to be dissected down.
I agree.
Right? Because when somebody says gaming, you can think of gambling. You can think of,
that's true.
you can think of very wasteful games, but no one here in this room would ever doubt that Minecraft has had a positive impact on a certain, generation in many ways. So the word gaming needs better definition. But I invest in the region, which always makes me wonder why. But my point to you is, what I was talking about is that in this region, in specific, in technology, there is a lot of FOMO investing. There's definitely a lot of chasing hype, et cetera, and therefore, currently gaming is not, let's say, a big investment area versus AI. That's to qualify my comment. On a global level, and because there's better asset allocation in developed markets like the US, Europe we can debate, but in developed markets like the US, etc., the sector receives quite a substantial amount of investment on a continuous basis. And that has to do with more disciplined sectorial investing and so on. And clearly there's been so much success creating brands like Minecraft and others that has created its own ecosystem of investing that's kind of self-fulfilling. And I think this is ultimately what we need to decide on here. Is gaming fundamental to, and again, whatever definition of gaming we pick, but is gaming fundamental, gaming education or, gamifying or etc., to the long-term development of our society? And if so, then it needs to have a virtuous cycle of investing, incubating, failing, succeeding, and yet again, continuing to develop. And so my comment is that we haven't gotten to that yet in gaming in region where that virtuous cycle exists. But that applies to a couple of other sectors.
Any other questions?
Thank you. Carl here. Love the discussion. And I think it's timing for this type of discussion because there's a lot of transitions happening in terms of jobs and skills in terms of the current economy. But a lot of us are misreading what the future economy is going to look like. And I think what we're trying to see here is what is that pathway to get there? And I think this is one of those pathways. So if I start to think of the academic synergies with current skills for current jobs, does that map towards future skills for future jobs? And I think what we're trying to see here is that sport in itself can be a long-term opportunity for individuals and for parents to look at. But that's in the current world. In the future world, esports is the longevity play. because you can play until you're 99 or 100. But you can also communicate through those same platforms. So there's a connectedness to a community. There's an opportunity to retain an income and extract value. Ultimately, that's going to help accelerate society towards a betterment of society. So I think the positivity aspect that you're talking about, Lucy, I think is critical, but also the pathway to get there as a parent and also as a leader in an enterprise or a corporation is even more vital. And I love the fact what Javier, you're doing with Gosu Academy. Obviously, I'm vouching for you, but you know that whole mechanism of adding additional flavor for a current skill set that someone may have, and then apply that in the current economy. You know, one example you use with the aircraft traffic management, and then the one you use on Lucy on the lawyer aspect. These are really important to understand, and it goes back to how do you get yourself involved. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about how do a lot of the stakeholders here in this room, a lot of them are probably leaders, some probably parents, and some are individual contributors in their organizations. How do they get involved? Because I think that's the key mechanism here.
I have one experience that is related, not in gaming, but in entrepreneurship. As I mentioned, most of the resistance I had were with parents. Yeah? And the other resistance I had is that my teachers, which I call mentors, in fact, don't call them, because teachers are no longer vessels of knowledge. Yeah? Otherwise, education could have been done from home. But what most of us don't realize that even among COVID, where when it started, everybody said, you know what, schools are not needed. Everything can happen from home. But it was one of the most resilient industries in COVID. The moment COVID restrictions went away, everybody sent their kids back. Why is that? It's because of two reasons. One, they wanted to get rid of them. But the most important reason is that because we are social beings. It's not about the knowledge they get from school. It's all about the social interaction and the other activities, sports and creativity, art, everything else that the school environment provides. So schools are going to stay, regardless of the role of the teacher. So the role of the teachers was never actually, and moving forward will not be a vessel of knowledge. They are individuals that make sure that those social beings are being evolved as individuals to the best possible version of a human being could. Use gaming in the same context. When I tried with entrepreneurship, I got a lot of resistance from the mentors because they had no idea. If they had businesses, they wouldn't come and teach. You understand me? And try your luck in attracting entrepreneurs to come and teach in a school. So I had to train them, create programs. 18 months of venture building. I faced the same issue with parents. Parents were like against getting the kids to be accustomed with failure, getting the kids to be concerned about team building and venture building and spending a lot of time researching ideas they consider stupid as parents. Because they have been raised as disciplined individuals that don't make mistakes, which is the perfect employee. But those things don't apply in business. You cannot be an individual disciplined that don't make mistakes in business. You cannot do that. Yeah? So in order to bring both of them to provide an offering that adds value to the learners, the kids, we had to actually club them together. So we have teams today at the school, around 35 of them, whereby they are teams of students, teachers, and parents doing entrepreneurship activities like venture building. The same thing will need to happen in gaming. They are more experienced as kids in gaming than the parents and the teachers. Today, it's a foreign language. The last time I played the game was in the 90s, Sega Genesis. Sonic. It's a very different world. You understand me? So we are talking about gaming, and we are not gamers. Most of us, except a couple of guys here. We are not gamers, but we are talking about gaming as if it's something we understand. We don't. And in order for us to add value, we have to understand it from them. And how would we do that? We have to team up.
That's good. I'm just going to quickly say that, you know, if you're a brand holder, take a look at why you might want to get your brand into games. And if you're a C-suite executive, take a look at the friction points in your organization. Is it trying to get people to fill out timesheets? Is it trying to get a certain KPIs or sales goals? There's a lot of really interesting companies using gamification to incentivize their employees to do things they normally delay doing.
Any more questions? Not, then I would like to thank our incredible panelists for the discussion, important discussion, and for you guys for being here with us. That's it. Thank you. Let's give them a nice applause.
Can we get a group shot?